The candles were already melting before anyone noticed him standing there, a perfectly pressed suit wrapped around a man who owned half the skyline yet could not find a single place to sit on the night of his own birthday. The restaurant glowed with laughter and clinking glasses, every table filled with warmth and belonging, while outside the glass walls, the city reflected back his loneliness like a cruel mirror. It was strange how a man who had conquered boardrooms and markets across continents could feel so invisible, so small, on the one night meant to celebrate his existence. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. His name was Daniel Harrington, a self-made millionaire whose rise had been featured in magazines and business journals, but whose personal life had quietly collapsed behind the headlines. He had built his fortune from nothing, growing up in a small town where dreams were bigger than opportunities. Success had come fast, but it had taken everything else with it. His marriage had dissolved under the weight of endless travel and emotional absence, friendships had faded into polite holiday messages, and his parents were gone, leaving behind a childhood home he could no longer bring himself to visit. Birthdays had become calendar reminders rather than celebrations, but this year, turning 42, he had promised himself one small thing. He would sit in a restaurant filled with people and remind himself that he was still part of the world. The host's apologetic expression said everything before the words ever could. Every table was reserved. Every corner was occupied by couples leaning toward each other, families celebrating milestones, friends laughing too loudly because they felt safe together. Daniel nodded, pretending understanding, pretending indifference, but something heavy pressed against his chest as he stepped aside. He told himself it didn't matter, that he could go anywhere, buy anything, but money suddenly felt useless. He stood there longer than necessary, as if waiting for the room to change its mind about him. That was when he noticed her. She sat at a small table near the window, a woman named Emily Carter, though he didn't know her name yet, with tired eyes softened by warmth and a presence that seemed both fragile and unbreakable. Beside her sat her young daughter, Lily, swinging her legs under the table, carefully dividing a slice of cake into equal pieces as if fairness was the most important thing in the world. Their table was modest, shared plates and water glasses instead of wine, but there was a quiet joy between them that filled the space more completely than the loudest celebration nearby. Emily had noticed Daniel the moment he walked in. Not because of his expensive suit or the subtle confidence of wealth, but because of the way his shoulders sagged when he realized there was no place for him. She recognized that look. It was the same look she had seen in the mirror many nights after her husband had left, when bills piled up and the future felt like a locked door. Without thinking too much, driven by something instinctive and kind, she raised her hand and gestured toward the empty chair at their table. Daniel hesitated, unsure if the invitation was real or imagined. When he realized it was meant for him, something inside him cracked open. He walked over slowly, like a man afraid the ground might disappear beneath his feet. Emily smiled, not the polite smile people give strangers, but a genuine one, the kind that says you are welcome here without conditions. There were no explanations, no awkwardness, just an unspoken understanding that no one should be alone on their birthday. As the evening unfolded, something rare happened. Daniel found himself breathing easier. Lily's innocent concentration as she carefully ate her cake, Emily's gentle attentiveness, the simple rhythm of shared space began to soften the edges he had built around himself for years. He learned, without formal conversation, that Emily was a single mother working 2 jobs, that this small celebration was Lily's idea because she believed birthdays deserved cake no matter what. He felt the weight of his own abundance contrasted against her quiet resilience, and instead of guilt, he felt gratitude for being allowed into their moment. The restaurant buzzed around them, but at that small table, time seemed to slow. Daniel realized how long it had been since someone had included him without wanting something in return. No business deals, no expectations, no recognition of who he was beyond him and needing a place to sit. The loneliness that had followed him for years began to loosen its grip, replaced by something fragile but real. As dessert plates were cleared, Daniel felt a pull to do something, to mark this night as more than a coincidence. He didn't make grand gestures or announcements. Instead, he stayed present. He listened. He laughed softly at Lily's seriousness about cake portions. He watched Emily relax, just a little, as if the world had given her a brief pause from responsibility. In that shared silence, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, connection. When the evening came to an end, Daniel walked out of the restaurant not feeling like a man who had been rescued, but like someone who had been reminded of his own humanity. Over the following weeks, he found himself thinking about that night often. He began to question the life he had built, the endless chase that had left him with everything except what mattered. Slowly, deliberately, he started making changes. He reduced his workload, reconnected with people he had pushed away, and began supporting local community programs, not for recognition, but because he had seen firsthand how small acts of kindness could change the course of a life. Emily, too, felt the ripple effects of that night. She didn't suddenly become wealthy or carefree, but something shifted inside her. She felt seen, valued, reminded that kindness could come from unexpected places, and that accepting help or companionship was not weakness. Lily remembered the birthday they shared with a stranger who didn't feel like a stranger at all, and it shaped the way she looked at the world, teaching her that compassion was something you practiced, not just talked about. Years later, Daniel would look back on that birthday as the moment his life truly changed. Not because of a business victory or a financial milestone, but because a single mother with very little to spare had waved him over and offered him something priceless. A seat. A moment. A reminder that no matter how high you climb, you are still human, still in need of connection. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness and the beauty of unexpected connections, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach the people who need them most. Please comment before the ending and tell us what this story made you feel and whether you believe one small act can truly change a life. The truth is, we never know whose life we might change by simply making room at our table. Sometimes, the greatest gifts are not the ones we buy, but the ones we give without realizing their value, and sometimes, all it takes to heal a lonely heart is the courage to wave someone over and say, in the quiet language of kindness, you belong here.